Well, hello, hello, hello. Much love to you all. May God bless you all. Hit the like button, share this out. We're going to do another Hebrew word play. We're going to talk about babble and mix up or confuse or confound, depending on the version you're reading. But uh, most famously in Genesis 11, we read that people attempted to stay in one place and become famous by building this huge tower, the Tower of Babel, of course, and the name of their city is usually translated as Babel, and it matches the Hebrew fairly closely, Bavel. And we see that Bavel or Babylon means confusion by mixing. So we're going to see a couple word plays here that we're going to talk about real quick. But this word appears 262 times in the Bible. And aside from Genesis 10:10 and Genesis 11:9, where it reads, therefore is the name of it called Babel or Bavel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all earth. So we also know that we see it translated as Babylon, which the name of this kingdom is the one that conquered Jerusalem in 587 BC, according to archaeology, and scattered segments of its population into exile where they were forced to learn this new language. Babylon was also the home of this massive towering temple to the lowercase g god Marduk, which is also the tablets of Gilgamesh. Did a couple videos where we talked about this, where really believed that the Iraqi war was based on this, that we took the tablets of Gilgamesh and we told Iraq we didn't. And then about like 10 years later, we returned the tablets of Gilgamesh and said, oops, we had these. Sorry. Like, playing it off, we didn't take it. But when we look at this lowercase g God, they believed it was a God of creation, water, agriculture, justice, medicine, and magic, which we know the Bible is against. All idol worshiping and magic, of course. But when we read this, the connection between Genesis 11 and any portion of the Bible that talks about Babylon is hard to miss. And it presents God as scattering the very people who scattered Israel. See, in the Babylonian eyes, Babylon is invincible and eternal because it is founded by the lowercase g gods for their own purpose. So, in contrast, the biblical story squashes this notion and presents that this was all human action. There was no divine God that had any connection with this, and these people were in rebellion against God. We know that Babylon is famously characterized as a political monolith that oppresses and dominates their subjects, forces them to learn their language. So I also want to talk about this word here, Balel.
Strong's H 1101. Balal. Balal.
Balel, which is confound, mix, mingled, tempered. You say confuse, which where do we see this at? We see this also in Genesis 11:9. After you see Bavel, you see Balel. In the same verse, we see this. So in Genesis 11:7 is where you first get it, where it says, go to, let us go down and confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. This appears 43 times, as you see, and this verb is to talk about confusing the people of Bavel. So, for that reason, in Genesis 11:9, we see that it says, therefore is the name of it called Bavel, or Babel, because the Lord did confound, or Balel, their language. So, in fact, in this particular passage, the text as a whole builds up to the moment when the name Bavel, or the word Babel, is being used. In only 9 verses, the text contains 22 appearances of the Hebrew letter that can be pronounced as the letter B that we would get, or the letter V, as well as 37 times does the appearance of the Hebrew letter that is pronounced for RL appears. So the earliest audience of this text would have heard a chorus of, Bavel or Balel. They would have heard this, and the sounds growing until the passage's last verse, when they learned that the place was named Babel or Bavel, which is because God babbled the people's language. He confounded the people's language. And this is also awesome for us English readers when we can tie these two things together and see that we see a similarity with the wordplay being here. We see that Babel, which is Bavel, is similar to the confusing of the language, Balel. So may God bless you. Hit that like button. If you like more videos like this, I'm starting a new playlist with the Hebrew word of the day. And this is now the second Hebrew word of the day that we have done. I'll have pop up on the screen the first one if you've missed it. Hit the notification bell. Check the community tab daily for we do content on a daily basis. May God bless you and much love.